What is the deal? My name is Gregory Beatty. You listen to the Sports Court, Grade A Media, Grade A Radio, the Sports Court, the show where we keep it 100% of the time. But I tell you, my banner right now is getting pampered a bit. I'll say it like that. Ironed and a few things like that. So it'll be back. I will unveil that again next week. So whether you care or not. So that's where the Sports Court banner is. Getting a touch up, a little pampering, nice ironing, pressed. Everybody keeps Skrilla Montana in y'all prayers. Was in a car accident. But he's hanging in there. He's doing good. He's doing good. It don't stop. The Sports Court, the show where we keep it 100% of the time. Hold tight right quick as I clear my throat. Let me get this going right here. Let me make sure I'm on live and direct. I'm in here kicking the solo tonight, so you know what I'm saying? Let me make sure I'm live and direct so I can go and do this. Of course, there's a lot going on in the sports world, as we all know. Of course, the NBA playoffs are near and dear to our hearts, as we all know. But hey, hold tight, get your popcorn ready. Y'all can get y'all popcorn ready if y'all want. Y'all can get y'all popcorn ready. Make sure you add that butter, because it's about to be butter. Remember that commercial? Parkgate butter. Parkgate butter. Oh, man. That is what's up. Of course, supposed to be getting a lot of rain here tomorrow in the coming days out here in Houston. You know this weather is crazy out here. But springtime is definitely here. Traffic was not too bad getting over here today. Everything was pretty smooth. I know everyone is gearing up for Easter weekend. Look forward to it as well. Hope everyone is blessed. Stay blessed. Be blessed. That is what's up. But again, you listen to the Sports Court. I'm Gregory Beatty, the show where we keep it 100% of the time. Should have got me a burger or something before I came over here. Something. But y'all get your popcorn ready, though. Wish I had some popcorn right now, some Orville Redenbacher. All this crazy stuff at some of these fast food places. I mean, what is this with Domino's right now? Tater tots with with pizza toppings on them. I mean, these fast food places run out of options, and they just come up with all kinds of crazy stuff. I look at some of that stuff they advertise like, who the hell is going to eat that? I know it's people that actually go in there and order that stuff. But you mean I have to go in there and get a Domino's pizza, and I have to wait for them, and I have to listen to them offer me some damn tater tots, which I love, not with my pizza. Some tater tots? That's what this come to? Damn. See commercials, chicken sandwiches without the bread, 2 fried chicken patties and lettuce and tomato on the inside of that. Come on, seriously? Seriously. You really being healthy by doing that. 2 fried chicken sandwich, battered up, 2 fried patties, and throw some lettuce and tomatoes inside of that with no bread. Boy. Hey, but a lot going on in the sports world. As I said, glad to be here. I'm Gregory Beatty. Call me the KID. But spring is here. Like, again, supposed to get some rain tomorrow. As long as it's not anything crazy. Like I say, the craziest natural disaster that I've ever seen, and I've said it before, and just the thought of it when it storms and rains real bad, or people that go through these hurricanes, especially places like Florida that's always in the hurricane eye, even Texas to a degree, but not as much as Florida. But that damn tsunami some years back. That damn tsunami, what was that in Thailand or... Forgive me if I'm wrong, but the Philippines, that was crazy. That was crazy. Just think about that. Water coming at you. I don't give a damn how good you can swim, covering every area of land and steady rising. What you gonna do about that? So I don't think the rain is supposed to get that bad, but it's supposed to do a little something tomorrow, next couple of days. Of course, the lead story, of course, as we all know, and I'm going to talk NBA, college basketball, of course. Of course, the NBA playoffs are near. Baseball season has kicked off. Opening day was this past Thursday. So teams are willing and dealing early on. Shohei, Mike Trout, see if they can get the Angels into the playoffs, but not at the expense of the Astros. Astros lost last night to the White Sox. So far, their pitching staff haven't been able to sustain anything past 4 or 5 innings, the starting pitching. But, of course, we all know that's going to get better. Of course, we all know the Astros are dealing with injuries with the likes of Jose Altuve, first ballot Hall of Famer. Of course, Lance McCullers is still not in the fold. A great hitter, veteran presence in Michael Brantley is still on the shelf. So they'll be coming back at some point. But as long as you got Air Jordan doing this thing, knocking home runs, driving in 3 at will, already out the gates looking like an MVP candidate, as long as you have Jordan, Alvarez, and Bregman, and Tucker, and the rest of the guys, by the time all those guys come back, Stros will still be in first. They'll still be in first. You have teams like the Phillies starting out now. They're 0-4. Think about it. Was just in the World Series last year. Bryce Harper is out with the elbow surgery, the Tommy John surgery. He's out to probably, of course, you all know my favorite player, Bryce Harper. He's out until maybe July. Then you had Reese Hoskins, another vital part to that championship run last season. Star on that team. Gone, ACL. So here they are, 0-4. Thinking that last year was going to propel them. So that's just how it goes. The Braves are back rolling. Ronald Acuna Jr., think he had 3 hits last night. In my opinion, if he stays healthy, think about it. He's another year. Of course, the Braves won the World Series the year before last. But now with a completely healthy Ronald Acuna Jr., even another year removed from that ACL tear, I think he's the best young talent in the game as far as positional player that plays every day. When he's healthy, Ronald Acuna Jr. And if you had to ask me who's the early favorite for MVP in the National League right now, who would I choose considering good health with everyone? Of course, Fernando Tatis still hasn't played for the Padres yet. But that's what I would say. I would say Ronald Acuna Jr., 5'2" player, can do it all. Special talent. So, you have teams like that, the Braves. I mean, then if you look at the Yankees, of course, they have this young guy, Anthony Volpe, I think that's his name. Of course, you know the New York media, they're already trying to make him out to be, which, from what it seems like, he's a damn good player. But, of course, you know the hype is going to be out of control. It already is. He's already the next damn Derek Jeter, if you listen to them. Anthony Volpe this, Anthony Volpe that. Of course, they're stealing more bases these days because of the new rules. But you have young guys like that. The Yanks, the Mets, I don't know where they are right now. But it's so early. It's only a few games in. But I know Toronto has given up what? In 3 out of their 4 games, they've given up like 9 runs. So people are trying to find their footing right now, trying to get this pitching in order. Some teams are starting the season with players dinged up, not playing with some players. So everything is kind of bunched up right now. Before I talk some NCAA basketball, of course, and I'm going to talk some NFL, maybe a few draft prospects as well. But again, hope everybody is doing A-OK in the place to be. If there's anything you disagree with, you're entitled to leave your opinion. Just as long as you remember my opinion is right. The sports court, baby. What's going on? What is going on? Before I get into this NCAA, a couple of tidbits. Of course, Tiger Woods playing in the Masters. Masters start tomorrow. We'll see what Tiger has left. He always seems to play well in the Masters. I don't think he's ever missed a cut in the Masters. 22 tries, if I'm not mistaken. He's nowhere near the favorite. But I think if you're a betting person, putting some money on Tiger in the Masters is not such a bad thing, even at the age of 47. Highly unlikely he wins. Won it a couple of years ago. But you never know with Tiger. He can get on that roll, and you never know with Tiger. If he's able to get on that roll, get into that weekend, that Saturday and Sunday in the mix, you never know. It is Tiger Woods, who of course has a son, Charlie Woods, who's pretty much a clone of him, with the body language. If you watch them play, what is he, 14? I think he'll be 15 here in the next few days. He's going to be a great one, too. He's probably going to be just like his dad. And I mean that sincerely. From watching Charlie play, Charlie's going to be a great one. And like I said, it's pretty much, if you watch them, their mannerisms, he's almost like a clone of his dad. So you all remember his dad was a young phenom. Charlie's probably going to go to Stanford, if I'm willing to bet. I think he's going to follow the same path that his dad, the great Tiger Woods. I mean, it's pretty much, like I said, almost a clone, the way they play, the way they move around, body language, mannerisms. So I can see him going to Stanford. I can see him at 18, 19, being this national champion or whatever, and going on and playing in the Masters at 21, winning the Masters. Seriously. And I don't say that about anybody, but watching Charlie play, the times he's played with that gene pool, I would not put it past him. Same thing if you talk about, Bronny James right now. I saw him in the McDonald's All-American game. He's balling. I remember his first dunk when they had it on YouTube. And he's not LeBron. So anybody that was thinking, LeBron James Jr., he was going to be another clone of LeBron, 6'7", 6'8", that wasn't in the cards. Bronny is carving out his own path. I remember I used to say that I thought it would be more feasible for him, dollars and cents wise, to go by LeBron James Jr. But I respect that. He wants his own identity. He still is LeBron James Jr., but he's going by Bronny James. And he's only 6'2". He's not 6'7", 6'8". Combo guard. May end up with the Buckeyes. Bron, go on, get him over there to the Buckeyes, man. I'll check him out next year with the Buckeyes. But I like the way Bronny has evolved. Now, I saw him in the dunk contest. Now he's dunking at will. He's definitely worked on his hops. So, again, that gene pool right there, so LeBron has always been explosive. So even though this guy is 6'2", 6'3", he has hops. And he's dunking with ease now. Like Pac say, how do you want it? So I would love to see him with the Buckeyes. Clowning, being that combo guard, doing what he has to do out there on the perimeter, making those passes, knocking down threes, getting to the rack, carving out his own path. Of course, he's going to have the same similarities, the same cerebral mindset of his dad, but he's not going to be 6'8" LeBron James. He's just going to be 6'2" LeBron James Jr. Doing it in a different way. But I'm looking forward to it. I like the way he's evolved. Go on, play with the Buckeyes, man. Go on, play with the Buckeyes, and maybe we'll be talking about the Buckeyes next season playing in the Final Four, because they don't even make it to the tournament this year, I don't think. For real. But, again, so Tiger's going to be playing in the Masters. Of course, Rory and all those. I mean, hey, it's a very competitive field. So, but that's going to be interesting, though. That's going to be interesting. Again, before I get to the NCAA, again, you listen to the Sports Court. I'm Gregory Beatty. Skrilla Montana is laid up right now. I got the building to myself right now. Got the building to myself. But I appreciate them for opening the doors, because actually, the studio is closed down this week. They made an exception for me, and I appreciate that. I truly appreciate that. That is what's up. But before I get going, before I continue, actually, I saw with Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter, he visited the Bears. The Bears, they have the 9th pick now after they traded back. So I can see them. He may be gone before the end. If you ask me, he's going to be gone before the end. Now, I know it's 4 quarterbacks that's probably going to go in the top 10. Well, that's a very strong possibility. I hear the Texans today saying that it's not a guarantee that they're going to take a quarterback at number 2. Bullshit. How is that? And I know DeMeco Ryans. I know he's a defensive-minded guy, and maybe he drafts a lot of people thinking maybe like my boy Sale. Name drop alert. What up, Sale? He's saying that he wouldn't mind. He has said this since day one. He wouldn't mind them drafting Jalen Carter at number 2, and then at 12, getting him a quarterback. And maybe if that's how, I still think they're going to take. I just don't think they're going to be able to sell a fan base that you're not taking a franchise quarterback in this year's draft with Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud sitting right there at number 2, sawing what happened with Davis Mills. Big disappointment. Just doesn't have that it factor. Knowing every team that wins a Super Bowl. Look at Patrick Mahomes, or the teams that look at Joe Burrow with Cincinnati. I can go on and on. Look at Josh Allen, the trajectory that they're on in Buffalo. You need a franchise quarterback. So Jalen Carter would be a great pick, but just not if you're the Texans at number 2. But if they did, then you get to 12. And you say, okay, we'll go with Hendon Hooker. Is that how they're thinking? I don't know. Hendon Hooker is rising in the draft, his draft stock. He's only going to miss the first couple of months. He's coming off that ACL, but he's a surefire top 10, top 15 pick if it wasn't for the ACL injury. And players recover from these ACL injuries that much faster these days and that much better. So with that arm talent that he has, with that mind that he has, his escapability when healthy, and of course he's going to get healthy. Are the Texans thinking like that? I don't know, but I don't think so. I still think that they're going to draft a quarterback at number 2. But Jalen Carter, he visited the Bears. Yesterday, I think it was. And that'd be a great pick for the Bears if he lasts to 9. Seattle couldn't have him at 5. We don't know. At 10, you have the Philadelphia Eagles. He'll be sitting right there if they don't take Bijan. Hopefully Bijan lasts to the Cowboys pick, but I'll talk about that later maybe. But that'd be great for Justin Fields. If they can get Jalen Carter, I know about the character issues. Well, from all accounts, he's a great guy. Just has done some immature things and have gotten caught up, and sometimes his durability as far as being in shape. But I think once he gets settled in and he's gotten some of these legal things behind him, and as time moves forward and he gets further and further away from some of the things that hindered him and that has had his draft stock to plummet, if you say plummet, when he says he's not interviewing with nobody outside of the top 10, him and his agent say they're not even talking to nobody outside the top 10. Which I don't agree with that. Get in where you fit in. You never know who may want to trade up or who may go and get you. Hey, Swaggy, one of those guys stole some of my thunder today when they were saying that, but I agree. You can't burn. Hey, just do what you have to do, and because it's good karma in the long run. Unlike good karma from what I saw on the news with 2 dudes trying to break into a church. You talking about 2 dudes that need Jesus. Hey, man, let's go break into a church. Really? That's bold. But the pastor said he's praying for them. If they need anything, they can come to him. All they got away with was causing $1,600 worth of damage. But they said, let's go break into a church. Good luck moving forward after that break-in. I don't care what you believe. Good luck with that. Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, They visited the coach yesterday. I think C.J. Stroud was in here, if I'm not mistaken, in here with the Texans today. So I'm looking forward to the draft. I'm looking forward to the NFL draft. Who's going to go number one to the Panthers? Hold tight. Going to talk some college basketball, NBA. Who's going to go to the Panthers? What did I tell y'all? What did I tell y'all weeks ago when Carolina traded up, Frank Reich traded up to get the number one pick? I come in here and I say, do not count out the possibility. We all know the success Cam Newton had when he was there, especially the first part of his career. MVP, leading him to a Super Bowl appearance. Do not be surprised if Frank Reich likes Anthony Richardson. And until the draft, whenever I touch on these quarterbacks, I'm going to mention Anthony Richardson. Because it would not surprise me. And like I said, right after they moved up, I said, don't be surprised. Now, if I had to be a bet man right now, I don't think he's going to be their pick. I still say it's either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. Most believe that Frank Reich is probably going to go with C.J. Stroud because that's what he's accustomed to. That's type of quarterbacks. That's the way his system is built, and that's the type of quarterbacks that he's. And I love C.J. Stroud. I don't need to go there again. Ohio State Buckeye goes without saying. Going to be a superstar. But so many people believe. But Anthony Richardson, do not count him out right there. But speaking of the type of quarterbacks that Frank Reich, how many Super Bowls does Frank Reich have as a coach? Okay. Hearing all this about what he likes, who he likes. How many Super Bowls does he have? When you have a magician sitting there at number one. So I don't think it's, hey, maybe he may go with either C.J. Stroud or Anthony Richardson because they're the prototype as far as their size. 6'3", 6'4". That's what Frank Reich loves. 0 Super Bowls. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and hoping for a different result? I mean, I'm just saying. I don't think you're going to go wrong with either C.J. Stroud or Anthony Richardson. But this notion, Bryce Young is special. And I think anybody that passes on Bryce Young, and if he falls into the Texans' lap, I think the Texans fans should be jumping for joy. Period. You get C.J. or you get Bryce. But you're going to take a quarterback number two. But if Bryce Young falls into the Texans' lap, the magician, the wizard that he is, the poise, the team leader that he is, the competitor that he is, the playmaker that he is, the composure that he exudes, the way his teammates gravitate to him, how marketable he is, his personality, his charisma, his charm. And really, that means nothing at the end of the day if he can't play. But his play on the field, I think at the Texans, if Bryce Young, all 5'10" of him, 205 pounds, did it in the best conference in football, Heisman Trophy, national champion. Did he win the national champion? Yeah. Heisman Trophy winner. SEC. So until the draft, and all we can do is speculate right now. That's my number one pick in the draft, and that's just being objective. CJ may go number one to the Panthers, make Rookie of the Year. He's that special as a talent too. Drop dimes, bam, 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 bam. The only thing that, and I've always said, you go back to 12 gauge, Cordell Jones. If you go back there when they won the national championship, then the way he hasn't progressed in the pros, but he didn't play under Ryan Day. But Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul. Justin Fields is still ascending. I think he's going to be a great one. Again, you get one of those draft picks at 9. Maybe if it's not Jalen Carter, maybe it's Peter Skoronski. They need some offensive linemen for Justin Fields. Or Paris Campbell. Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State. Of course, I'm with that. But yeah, so we'll see. But do not count out Anthony Richardson being the number one pick with that kind of talent and that kind of upside. And again, if he goes to a team that has an established quarterback, of course you bring him in certain plays. And I mean, of course, I'm a huge proponent, and I'll say it time and time again. You all know that if you listen to me. I'm a huge proponent of playing. I think you have, as a quarterback, you have to play to get better. Of course, you have guys like Patrick Mahomes, who's behind Alex Smith, who had made it to the Pro Bowl the year before. So if you have an established quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, of course, is playing behind a Hall of Famer. So if you have an established quarterback, of course. But this notion, Anthony Richardson, okay, he only has 13 starts and 21 years old, let him sit for 2 years. I agree with that to an extent, depending on where he gets drafted. If he gets drafted, I mean, if he goes to Seattle, of course, Geno deserves to be the quarterback starting out. But you don't put this guy on a leash and just, I think the best way to learn is by actually playing. And yeah, he's only played 13 games. Okay. Well, put him in the game and let him get more game experience. Unless you have an established quarterback. Let him learn like that. I don't think it's going to hurt his confidence. I don't think that guy's made out of that mold. I don't think he's made out of that ilk. He's just that talented and sure of himself as an athlete. I think he's wise. He would be wise enough to know, he's intelligent enough to know if he doesn't have immediate success, that doesn't mean he's doomed. I think Anthony Richardson is the type of guy, from what I've seen, he seems like the type of guy that will take that as a learning experience and only get better from it. But he has to have the reps. I think having the reps on the field is only going to speed up his progress. And you never know. He may just be that cold with it. He might just hit the ground running. Next thing you look up, he'll be vying for a Rookie of the Year. So again, if he gets drafted by somebody with an established quarterback, yeah, you know, it's cute. Let him sit back and learn. Yeah, and of course there's some things he has to learn. Put him on the field and let him play. Put him on the field and let him play. That's how you get to that superstar that you know he can be. Let him learn. Learn on the fly. What else going on? When I talk some NBA later, of course, the Warriors, they have Andrew Wiggins back now. And so I hope, and trust me, I'm not trying to bury the lead. I'm going to talk UConn. Very impressed by them. Very impressed by them. Hold tight. But what was I saying? But I know I was talking about Golden State, Andrew Wiggins. He's back now. Good for him. Hope he's gotten through those personal issues. I hear his dad, Mitchell Wiggins. Of course, Mitchell Wiggins used to play for the Rockets. Of course, I watched him. When I talk about that team with Akeem and Ralph and that 86 team, Mitchell Wiggins was a starting guard on that team. Supposedly, he's real sick as well. And supposedly, the other things that we had heard, what that I had heard that I hadn't mentioned what it was about, that was floating around, the rumor about why he was really out, supposedly those were unfounded and is not true. So I hope that's the case. And I hope his dad, Mitchell, if that's what it was, I wish him very well and a speedy recovery. But good to see Andrew Wiggins back in the fold, and I respect the fact he had to go handle his business. I was wondering if he was going to come back. At some point, you have to go back to work. Some point you have to go back to work. And I don't mean to be insensitive to the situation at hand, even if I didn't know exactly what it was about. If he said it was a personal issue, I respected that. But at some point you have to come back to work. If you're that alpha dog, we all know the questions they had about him in Minnesota. He's not that alpha dog, kind of passive. We all know what he helped Golden State do last year. He's one of my favorite players. I love the talent. We all know what he helped them do last year. So he's back in the fold. So when I talk NBA, touch on Golden State, of course the Lakers are looking like they're looking and all this and that. But last night, UConn, the UConn Huskies, they beat San Diego State 76-59 to win a national championship. Fifth national championship, what, since 1999? Is that dominant or what? They just been dumb. Hey, you're talking, and you know, going into that game last night, love Adama Sanogo. I don't know where he fits in the draft. You know, you've seen guys like him before, 6'8", 6'9". Guys like Robert Tractor Trailer kind of reminds me of him. When he was at Michigan, maybe was a tad bit heavier, but long arms, strong base, strong, was hard to move off the block, could finish with either hand at the rim, nice touch. Sanogo, I don't know where he is or where he was going into the tournament as far as his draft prospects. Now, he's only a junior. You have Jordan Hawkins, who I think is a lottery pick. But if you have him, if you have Sanogo, the 7'2" freshman Donovan Clingan, who's going to be a great one. Of course, you can tell they're already hyping him already. He'll probably be the leader in the clubhouse to win Player of the Year if he comes back for his sophomore season. You can tell the way they put the camera on him, and he's a reserve that averaged 7-something points. But we all know his presence. I love him as a player. Defensive presence, 7'2", athletic, can run the floor, can finish, and he's only going to get better. But just think if Sanogo, Jordan Hawkins, and Donovan Clingan comes back. They're already the favorites to win it all again next season. But as far as Sanogo, I had no idea who he was going into the tournament. But he has been a double-double machine in the tournament. And I watch him play. Hey, man, and I don't know how it's going to translate because, of course, when you get to the NBA, of course, you're playing against a lot of bigger guys, and even though he's 6'9", but look at it. Barkley was 6'5". You saw how dominant he was. So some guys just have that in them, that power, that finesse, that game, that drive. I mean, 6'9", I mean, you saw how dominant Karl Malone was. Sanogo, I don't know if he was noted wherever he was ranked. I don't think a lot of people knew that he could knock down the three. A couple of games ago, what's that, in the semifinal, in the Final Four, H-Town did a great job of hosting the Final Four, by the way. He started out the game with 2 threes against Miami, I think that was. 2 threes. So he showed his range, but you're talking about footwork down low. You hear me talking about Drew Timme and his draft prospects if he goes to the right team. But Sanogo, with that power and that strength, the way he's able to wall people off and get position for rebounds and finish at the rim with either hand. He left a couple of layups on there last night that he probably could have converted. But he seems like a legitimate force down low that can help an NBA team, and he seems like he can be dominant. And, of course, if those 3-ball hits weren't an aberration, and that's something that he can do on a regular basis, if he and of course continue to develop the face-up game, the mid-range game, of course, I think that's very important for every player. When I talked about Bronny James and all these guys, develop that mid-range game. Look at Devin Booker and KD. The list goes on and on. Where everybody want to shoot threes, you can get yours in a more high percentage way. But I like Sanogo. And so what Connecticut was able to do was so impressive. Kudos to Danny Hurley. Used to watch his brother Bobby Hurley with Duke back in the day. Those great Duke teams. Was a great point guard. Had an unfortunate injury when he got to the pros. Was it a car accident? A car accident that derailed his career. Same way it did for Jason Williams. Formerly Jason Williams, now goes by Jay Williams. 2 great point guards for Duke. Not taking anything away from the Hurleys right quick, but I still say to this day that Jay Williams was the best point guard that ever come out of Duke. And that includes Kyrie Irving. But Danny Hurley, congratulations to him. Played ball at Seton Hall. Him and his brother very, very close. But he saw his brother win those national championships. get all that notoriety when he was at Duke. But for him to lead his team to really, and the thing about it, he had his team clicking on all cylinders at the right time of year. That's when you want to be peaking, playing your best basketball, and that's on any level. Whether it's basketball, football, baseball, you want to be peaking going into the tournament, going into the playoffs. And that's exactly what UConn was able to do, and they did not let up. I was thinking last night before the game, I say, well, you never know. Of course, with college basketball, one game, if the team is off, no matter who the favorite is, do I need to bring up my U of H Cougars again, 1983? Do I have to go there? But one game, knowing they would have played North Carolina State 10 times, they probably would have won 9 out of 10. But I said to myself, one game, can UConn finish the deal and have another magnificent performance? Everybody connected on the string, defense playing at a high level. Everybody's taking every possession like it's the last. I think Danny Hurley did a great job of getting those guys ready to play, keeping them engaged, keeping them really going after the task at hand, which was a national championship, keeping their eye on the prize. I think he did a great job of making sure his team, UConn, kept their eye on the prize, and they had no let-up in last night's game. They pretty much led that game from wire to wire. Adam Sanogo was the most outstanding player, finishing with 17 points, 10 rebounds. Tristan Newton, who's actually the first cousin of Aaron Jones, if y'all didn't know that. Well, maybe they mentioned that last night, but I knew that even before that through my dad actually texted me that. He had 19 and 10. Jordan Hawkins, he had a big three-pointer when every time I never really got the sense, even with San Diego State, and kudos to San Diego State, but they just didn't have enough offensive firepower to really deal with UConn. A UConn team, again, that's clicking on all cylinders the entire tournament. I talked about last week how they've just dominated every team, beating every team by at least 15 points until they beat, was it Miami by 13? But they've been winning in double figures and doing it in dominant fashion. So Danny Hurley kept those guys, kept their eyes on the prize, and they were able to get it done. But Tristan Newton had 19 and 10. Jordan Hawkins hit a big three. Every time San Diego State, who just did not have the offensive firepower to really stay with UConn, every time they made a push, I never really thought that it was going to be enough to really overtake UConn, because UConn, no matter who they had, what's his name, what's the guy's name? But all their role players, the 2 C's, I call them that, coming in, just knocking big shots down. Jordan Hawkins hit a big three when San Diego State had got it to within 5 with like 5 minutes and 19 seconds left or something like that, I think it was. Jordan Hawkins, who he had been dealing with the flu bug, so he wasn't himself, but Mr. Dunk, he was trying to yam it last night, but he showed his athleticism. So even though he missed that dunk, I said, okay, that's a couple more points for me because he showed that athleticism and he can yam on you. So that just elevated his lottery stock, even though that was a missed dunk. But he played within himself. I was surprised that he wasn't that, because, again, Jordan Hawkins, in my opinion, sophomore, guard, taller than I thought, too. He looks like he's about 6'6", 6'7". I don't know what he's listed at, but can take you off the dribble. Never saw a shot he didn't like, and he's deadly from 3. He's a top 10 pick, folks. I don't know if he's coming back next season, but he had a big 3 with 5 minutes and 19 that stretched the lead back out to 8, and that was all she wrote. It was just a matter of time before UConn was going to hoist their 5th national championship trophy at center court after Jordan Hawkins hit that big 3. But he was very composed, played within himself. Didn't just jack shots up, was very happy for his teammates, was making plays for them, happy to see them make shots, passing the ball around the perimeter. Their ball movement and their chemistry in this tournament was just off the charts. And again, their depth It was just too much to overcome for San Diego State and anybody else in the tournament for that matter. That's just how much they were connected on the string and how well coached they were by Danny Hurley and that coaching staff, but just not only on the offensive side of the ball, but also on the defensive side of the ball. So they were locked in and engaged. A deep rotation, great ball movement, great chemistry, can play inside out, have guys that could knock down the 3-ball all around the perimeter. Then you dump it into Sanogo. Or the big boy, Klingon. Hey, so great job by UConn. And again, they look like the team to beat as far as next season is concerned. Now again, I don't know if Sanogo is going to turn pro. From the looks of it, from what I see, how powerful he is, and he don't have to be a super high leaper. He just moves people out the way. And he can finish at the rim. But it's going to be interesting to see how that translates into the NBA, where he's going to play, where all those guys are going to be 6'9", 6'10", that he's playing against, athletic, quick, a lot of them just as strong as him. But his power and strength was very notable in that tournament. It was like a man playing with boys, almost. Seriously. It was like a man playing with boys. So we'll see. But I was talking about Jalen Carter. It seems like he's getting in shape. He doesn't seem like one of those guys that's going to, I don't think that's been a concern. He's going to get out of shape. Everything I've seen, well, as far as his weight, like, remember on that Sanford and Son episode when Fred got that, when Donna and Lamont bought Fred that pool table and they couldn't get his friends to leave. And then Lamont thought of something. We fixed him a bunch of sandwiches and Fred was like, no, not them bellies, those homegrown bellies. Every time they elbow bend, their mouth open. So he don't seem like one of those guys. But who else, man? I talked about the Phillies. Check this out. And I'll get back to UConn right quick, too, before I leave that alone about UConn. Let me say this real quick. Deion Sanders, I saw with Deion Sanders, prime time. I'm a prime time Sanders fan and really looking forward to seeing the Colorado Buffaloes and how quick they can turn things around. And I talked about that last week, or I think I mentioned it maybe the week before last, whenever it was. But I saw where those guys came off of spring break or something, and they continue spring practice. They say Deion in that first practice, it was brutal. They say he is laying down the law. The way he's changing that culture is changing their attitude through structure and discipline. They say that practice was brutal. Spring game, I think, in a couple of weeks, already sold out. Last year, I don't think they had over 1,000 people there. This year, I think it's already sold out over 72,000 for the spring game for Colorado. So that's just excitement that primetime has brought to the Colorado Buffaloes. But back to UConn. Hey, UConn, great job by them. Great job by all those teams in the tourney. San Diego State, again, great job by them for even making it to that final game. You see that buzzer beater against FAU? FAU played a great game, too. They just were not able to overcome San Diego State. San Diego State turned up their defense. But FAU in the game, in that Final Four matchup against San Diego State, where San Diego State hit that buzzer beater with Lamont Butler, what a great shot. Of course, we all know that shot is going to live in history. And every year when March Madness gets ready to start, of course, that's one of the shots that they're going to show over and over and over for probably the next 30 years, leading them to and if they would have won the national championship, you can imagine how it would have been. But FAU, with all that talent, with all that rotating 9 or 10 guys, they just could not finish that deal against a very rugged, tough San Diego State team. But great job by them with that buzzer beater right there. And again, kudos to Miami for actually having a great year as well and making it to the Final Four. Just ran into a buzzsaw in the UConn Huskies, this year's national champs, that actually just no team was a match for UConn this past tournament. And again, they're the favorite. They're the favorite, especially if you had a big center, Klingon, come back to get hyped up all year and be the National Player of the Year. Or Jordan Hawkins or Sanogo. Maybe all three come back and say, let's run it back. Let's run it back. But one of those guys are gone, and it may be Hawkins. It may be Hawkins. We shall see. But, of course, on the women's side of things, what about LSU? What about LSU? 102-85 over Iowa. Caitlin Clark, National Player of the Year. Angel Reese. All Kim Mulkey needed was 2 years. 2 years to turn that program around. I know there's a lot of happy LSU fans out there. As well you should be. Every time my team wins a natty or whatever it is, hey, pop your collar. My cousin Ray Fell, former football player at LSU. His lovely wife Felicia, former track runner at LSU. I know they're head over heels right now in that LSU victory. But great job. Kim Mulkey needed just 2 years to change the fortunes of LSU. First national championship in women's basketball. First ever. Took her 2 years. 9 new players. One of those players being Angel Reese. MVP, tournament MVP, Final Four MVP. Double-double machine. Great personality. Says what's on her mind. Says she's unapologetic. And I feel that. She can't do nothing but respect that. Of course, Iowa. So they beat Iowa. They just had too much shooting for Iowa. Too much offense for Iowa. Great job by Iowa this year. Caitlin Clark. Again, I mean, hey, that game was the most watched. And again, like I told you last week, since Cheryl Swoops and those Houston Comet days, Cheryl Swoops, who actually, Caitlin Clark actually surpassed her for most points in the tournament with 191. She surpassed Cheryl Swoops when Cheryl Swoops was at Texas Tech, of course. But I was looking forward to watching that game. And that's the most highly watched women's basketball game, I think, if I'm not mistaken, of all time. And I think the mini feud, or lack thereof, between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, just competitors right there. Just competitors. Just competitors. But but going back to LSU real quick before I talk about that. LSU, Jasmine Carson, the reserve guard. That 21 points, 22 points, whatever she had in that first half, she was unconscious. She was unconscious. And what I was really surprised, not surprised, I wouldn't say surprised, but what I was really impressed with watching those ladies and really just honing in was the skill level and their talent and their shot-making ability. I've always been impressed with Caitlin Clark. She's on another level. That's Steph Curry-esque right there. She's going to be a superstar in the WNBA. I don't think she's a junior, but she's coming back to Iowa. She's probably going to make more money in NIL deals than she will making $250,000 in the WNBA. But she's going to have so many endorsements. Let's just call it what it is. And I think that game right there, the same way the Magic Johnson and Larry Bird game, remember that? Talked about that last week. 1979, the first year of the tournament. The same way that game changed college basketball. And, of course, we all know they changed the NBA. Still the best rivalry, the best friendly rivalry of all time. But think about what that game is going to do for women's college basketball and the little mini feud between those two. There's much to do about nothing. But Caitlin Clark, she had another 8 3-pointers in that game. So good job by Iowa, but LSU just had too much firepower, again, with Jasmine Carson in that first half. 5 for 6 from 3, 22 points. But is this... Quick note, I was just watching the game, and to each his own. But damn, you mean Iowa, they have not one black lady on the team? Not one? Not one. I didn't see one. Unless she was buried on the bench. I'm like, just run one of them in the game. At least just for the optics of it. Man, but the officiating was kind of suspect. You had important players from both teams in foul trouble early. Angel Reese, so Jasmine Carson stepped up. Angel Reese was in foul trouble. The star forward for LSU transferred from Maryland. The aforementioned Angel Reese. The officiating was tight and it was questionable. I tell you. But the "you can't see me" gesture that Caitlin Clark displayed earlier against Louisville, I think it was. And hey man, these women are just competing. And of course, Angel Reese, of course, and she even said as much. She said she really wasn't going to say too much until after she saw that they had a national championship in hand. And so she held on to her thoughts, to herself or whatever. And let's just keep it real. A lot of that too. Now she said, and I like what she said, that she's unapologetic. And when somebody like Caitlin Clark does that, it's no big deal. So she was talking about the pushback that she had gotten, and not just from that, just throughout the season, about being too hood and from the ghetto and she's too hood. But when somebody like Caitlin Clark does the "you can't see me" hands gesture, it's nothing. But when she does it, oh, it's a big deal. And kudos to her for calling that, for saying what was on her mind right there, and for calling that to the carpet. She's absolutely 100% correct. Now, Caitlin Clark, she's just out there competing. And they asked Caitlin Clark about Angel Reese, and Angel Reese, of course, during the game was doing the same thing, was mocking Caitlin Clark. And she said, she even said as much. After she saw they won the national championship, or they were going to win, that's when she just went all in or whatever as far as going in. And a lot of that, let's just be honest, a lot of that, now, of course, they're both competitors. Caitlin Clark said today when she was asked about Angel Reese, she was like, hey, I did my thing, she did hers, and I'm prefacing here. I compete, she compete. It's just two competitors. And Angel Reese, as right as she is about what she said, think about too, a lot of that, some of that is maybe a tad bit of resentment for Caitlin Clark and for what she's accomplished this season. Even though Angel Reese finished it off with a national championship. Like she said, she wanted that more than anything. But if that was just some run-of-the-mill player doing that, you think it would have garnered that much attention? You think it would have been on her mind to really go do that to a player that really didn't matter as much as Caitlin Clark? So a lot of that, some of that is just resentment toward Caitlin Clark, because Caitlin Clark is a bad chick. She's a bad chick. But Angel Reese is too. Angel Reese is too. And she's going to make a lot of money on and off the court as well. With her with her personality and with her good looks and her play on the court, I'm willing to bet she's going to make a lot of money as well. So I think that game, even the mini feud, so to speak, and again, they both acknowledge, competition, just competing. When you're on the floor and when you're in the heat of the battle, you ought to be surprised, or maybe not surprised, how much trash talk goes on. Yeah, the cameras were on Angel Reese, and she knew it when she was doing this, and right back at you and all this and that. Just competing. You look up a few years from now, they may be best friends. May play in some all-star games together, Olympics, who knows? You know how that goes. But in the moment, in the heat of the battle, that's just how it goes. At the end of the day, that's much to do about nothing. And I like the way Caitlin Clark said, hey, she's competing just like I'm competing. I have no problem with what she's doing or what she did. She took the high road right there. Move on. They won the national championship. You got player of the year. You made it. And, hey, see what happens next season. But you know that's only going to heighten people's interests the next time they play each other. So kudos to LSU, the LSU ladies, the Lady Tigers, for getting it done. Great job by them, though. As a matter of fact, one of my boys I grew up with, actually him and my brother are the same age. They were real tight as kids. name drop alert, Chris, he's actually married to Sheryl Swoopes. They've been married. I think they're still married. My boy Chris, I won't say his last name, but I think they're still married. But yeah, Caitlin Clark, 6-game stretch, surpassing Sheryl Swoopes, a total of 191 points. 191. So, hey, again, congratulations to both of those teams. The college basketball season is now over. So, of course, we're definitely looking forward to the NBA season. But before I talk NBA, did you see where I saw where the Baltimore Ravens offered Odell Beckham Jr., who's coming off 2 torn ACLs? You listen to the Sports Court. I'm Gregory Beatty. The show where we keep it 100% of the time. Roof! They offered OBJ, which I thought I was civilized. They offered OBJ a contract. But it's mighty funny when things are in flux, and I don't know what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson. I'm not going to get into that again this week ad nauseum about them not being enamored or not really thinking he's worth what he's asking for, or not thinking that he's the quarterback that he thinks he is, or most people thinks he is. That's obvious in the way they're thinking, and from what I hear, they've offered him. Not saying they don't think he's a great quarterback, but not on the Patrick Mahomes level. But who he is? He's worth what he's asking for. But now things are in flux with Lamar Jackson, and of course we all know about his requested trade. He requested a trade. He said he requested a trade March the 2nd. Of course, he has the tag on him right now, non-exclusive franchise tag. So if a team hasn't offered him anything, of course, we all know the collusion that's probably going on with the owners because of the Deshaun Watson contract. That's an outlier right there. They don't want to be nowhere close to that again. But all of a sudden now, Ty Monken comes in there from Georgia. We all know Greg Roman was there. We all know they never got Lamar the weapons, the requisite weapons, the true number one receiver. He may end up back in Baltimore. Not for everything he's asking for. We'll see how things turn out. He may end up back in Baltimore, but seems like that bridge has been burned, or that relationship. But hey, stranger things have happened. But if no one is going to give anything Baltimore to match or to compete with as far as an offer sheet for Lamar Jackson, he may, unless he just decides, hey, who knows how it's going to turn out. But all of a sudden now, Ty Monken comes to town. Now the front office signs off on him courting a possible number one receiver. We all know the Hollywood Brown situation didn't really work out, and they didn't really utilize him as a number one receiver anyway. Come on, Ozzie. I don't know if Ozzie is officially with the team anymore, but Ozzie still has a lot of say-so. Ozzie being a former tight end, he made sure that team was built around the tight end for Lamar Jackson. Ozzie should have had more of an influence on getting some wide receiver help in there. That's one of the things I don't like about Ozzie's tenure there, knowing he had the influence to really help Lamar Jackson in that regard, to really help that brother shine and showcase his abilities, give him the best position, put him in the best position to succeed. And no matter what your role was on the team during Lamar Jackson's tenure there, you've been there, you've always had, you're still scouting for him. You know you still have an influence on the Baltimore Ravens. But Ozzie's a former tight end. But all of a sudden now the front office is signing off on them courting the number one receiver. Who knows what they're going to do in the draft? They might like Anthony Richardson. Who knows? But now you got Odell, who's looking healthy. If you look at the videos, again, and I'll say it again, how does he recover day in and day out from 2 torn ACL injuries at 30? 30 is not old, really. I mean, I thought he was older than that. But 2 torn ACLs. How does he recover day in and day out? Does that knee swell up on him? So I'm sure they're doing their homework. But the video that I saw of him cutting and looking like he was an all-world receiver once again, in shorts, of course, I'm like, okay. How hard did you work out the day before that on that knee? Could you do that tomorrow on that knee? So, but now Baltimore is a team. Now, that would be great if Lamar does go back there. That's a story for another day, for the most part. And then they draft a wide receiver in the first round to go along with OBJ, Todd Monken, in this down-the-field passing attack. Saw what he did at Georgia with Stetson Bennett. Then that'll give Lamar a chance to shine. But under what terms? Under what contract? Will he be happy? Will he be disgruntled? Will he have 1 foot in and 1 foot out the door? Or will he be dying to get out the door? Even though who knows? Who knows? But they have to figure something out in Baltimore. But now all of a sudden the front office is signing off on them, go and get OBJ. OBJ was available a couple of years ago before he went to the Rams. Did I hear the Ravens clamoring for him then? I don't even think the Ravens were even in the picture. You know why? Because you didn't think enough of Lamar Jackson and his long-term prospects with you all that you didn't want to go out and make that investment. Now that things seem to be on the outs with Lamar Jackson, either that or you're trying to save face and make it like, look, we're trying to get him some help, but he's requested a trade. Try to run game on me. Now all of a sudden, Odell is the guy. Wasn't thinking about Odell a few years ago. Because you didn't think Lamar could give him the ball anyway, because y'all are gonna use y'all's Ozzie Newsome's style attack. Throw the ball to the great Mark Andrews more and more and more and more and more. And just put anybody we want outside and then tell Lamar what he can and can't do and hasn't been able to do. But all these other teams go out and get star receivers. Buffalo. Go out and get a star receiver. Diggs. Patrick Mahomes. Hey, speaking of OBJ, hey, if OBJ is really that healthy, Kansas City, they lost Mecole Hardman, which wasn't really a big loss, to the Jets. And, of course, a lot of people think he's still going to go to the Jets. We'll see where he ends up. But that was just interesting about Baltimore. All of a sudden now they're courting Odell Beckham Jr. But could you see Odell Beckham with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid? Can you say repeat? Hey, man, that Mahomes a bad boy. That's a bad boy. What he was able to do with the Chiefs, and I had no intentions of talking about the Chiefs tonight, but I marvel. You're talking about a guy when it's said and done with Patrick Mahomes, you got to be looking at the greatest to ever do it, in my opinion. I don't know if he'll have more rings than Tom Brady at 7, but, man, for him to have 2 rings already, just think about how much of a distant memory that game is right now, that game against Cincinnati when Joe Burrow then went to the Super Bowl when they beat Kansas City. Kansas City pretty much F that game away. But, things happen. Things happen in the playoffs, and I like the way they moved on from that. Patrick Mahomes didn't make a big hoopla about him that touchdown before the half when they could have scored, which they didn't get. Cincinnati comes back in the second half in Kansas City, comes back and gets the job done. Everybody thought Kansas City was going to be right back in the Super Bowl. They didn't falter. They didn't take a step back. They came right back the very next season, and he went right back and got that second Super Bowl victory. That loss is a distant memory. That's how the great ones do it. That's how the great ones do it. I see where Bill Belichick is talking about and I see what Bill Belichick is talking about now that Mac Jones, he's willing to trade Mac Jones. Bill Belichick, it's almost time for Billy to hang him up. He hasn't done anything since Tom Brady. We know he's a great coach, but he's not too crazy about Mac Jones, obviously. A guy that last year should be a wash. A guy that you actually put 2 defensive coordinators over there to tutor him. Didn't have an offensive mind over there. Now you have somebody like Bill O'Brien over there. And I think Mac Jones is going to, maybe he's seeing something that we're not seeing in practice about Mac Jones. But he doesn't seem to be all sold on Mac Jones right now. Played Bailey Zappi last year. But he doesn't seem to be too senile right now anyway himself. Belichick. We've always known some of the moves he's made that he could get away with in the past, some of the roster moves, and still make it to the Super Bowl because he had the great Tom Brady. That's not the case right now. They need to replenish that roster with plenty of talent and give the guy a chance now. You drafted him at 15 a couple of years ago. Give the guy a chance. Show the guy that you have confidence in him. Don't go in with the guy feeling like he's not wanted and you drafted him first round. You don't have another quarterback that's better right now. I mean, unless you're going to trade for Lamar Jackson. But like Asante Samuel said, no, he tweeted, you do not want to play for Bill Belichick. Nobody wants to play for Bill Belichick right now. I rule with an iron fist. I'm not going to supply you with the best talent. Just get her done. Those days are over. Too many talented teams out there. Now you have Bill O'Brien in the fold. Let this guy, Mac Jones, go into camp feeling like he's the franchise quarterback, build his confidence, let him work with a real offensive coordinator in Bill O'Brien, a guy that's been there, that's coached Tom Brady, before you go out there in the public and talk about how you're open to trades. Now, if you make a blockbuster deal or some kind of deal and get your star quarterback back over there, good for you. But he need to replenish that team. What's that? I think, I mean, the McCourty twins are gone. At least one of them. Which one plays safety? I saw them on NFL Network lately. I don't know which one is which. I think they could just fill in for each other every day or something and be like, hey, you go today, I'm going to sit out. You just say you're me. When I turn to that channel and see one of them, I don't know which one it is. Well, I can't take off tomorrow, but you can go in for me. Just use my name. Then the next day I'll go in for you. That's how much those guys look alike. But, hey, they need to replenish that roster. They need to replenish that roster. Let's see what Dak and my Cowboys do. I hear Zeke still hasn't signed with anyone just yet. Hold tight. I'm going to talk some NBA before I get out of here tonight. We all know the NBA is going to take precedent moving forward here as the playoffs. It's only like 3 or 4 games left for most of these teams. But I hear Zeke still hasn't signed with anybody yet. I hear he may just end back up with the Cowboys at a very reduced rate, of course. Now, I don't know if that's just the Cowboys saying that that's an open possibility out of respect or if that's really a true possibility. I don't know. But I know what. If they got Bijan Robinson, and I know the Cowboys need some other help. They got them a corner in Stephon Gilmore that's going to play opposite of Trayvon Diggs, so he's not going to have the number 1 receiver most of the time. You got Brandon Cooks to help Dak. There's no excuses this year for Dak Prescott. What he did against the San Francisco 49ers, again, throwing interceptions, 2 crucial interceptions that, in my opinion, cost the Cowboys that game in a trip to the NFC Championship. For real. But no excuses. All that erratic play, love Dak Prescott as a person. Great leader. Holds himself accountable. Says all the right things. I get it. Just do the right thing on the field. Quit throwing them damn interceptions, especially at the times that you're throwing them at. I mean, an interception is not good anytime. But, man, as soon as you start believing in Dak, that's why I always said when they was having those contract negotiations, it's like, show me something in the playoffs. Show me something. Now, earlier on, maybe they need to go back to a situation to where you don't necessarily think about how Dak really concern yourself too much with how much better can Dak get. You need to put him in the best position now to even be the Dak that he was when he had a great run game. And I know they need some other, they need to plug some holes. The defensive line can use some offensive linemen, but that's why you draft. That's why you have 7 rounds in the draft. But if you can get Bijan Robinson, I even like Gibbs from Alabama, but he's more of a back like Pollard. I think Bijan could be more of a guy you could just pound the ball with, and you could use him in the pass game. Then you have Tony Pollard, who still has to get completely healthy from that leg injury. Both of those guys. But the wonders that it would do for Dak Prescott to have another legit superstar running back. Pollard could be that guy but I still think he's more of a scat back, third down back type of guy. Still give him 15 carries a game. But Bijan, I think that would really help Dak settle down. Of course, it would change the play calling. Mike McCarthy has already said that he wants to be more run-oriented, which him and Kellen Moore parted ways. Kellen Moore is now with the Chargers. But a team that's had some success, other than the playoffs, of course, with passing the football and offensively, the last couple of years has been top 1 or 2 right there with Kansas City. But I'm not too crazy, and I said this a few weeks ago. Mike McCarthy, let's not forget how putrid he was as a play caller when he ended his tenure in Green Bay. How predictable, how conservative, how non-innovative, non-creative he was. If he's that same Mike McCarthy, that's not good for the Cowboys. He's going to be calling plays like that. You better get up with the times, bro. Michael McCarthy, who's been doing a good job, did a good job last year. Can't blame anything other than, Dak threw those 2 interceptions again. So you put Dak, of course you want to run the ball, but if you're going to depend on Dak Prescott to come in there and just light it up, I don't think Dak is just not that guy. He's going to get you some empty numbers. He's going to pass for some stats. They need a tight end. We have Hendershot, I think that's his name, and Jake Ferguson. They're good, but I wouldn't mind seeing Darnell Washington out of Georgia. Or Mayer from Notre Dame, who a lot of people are high on. I like Darnell Washington better. 4'6", 6'7", great blocker, same way Mayer is. Mayer may be more polished as a receiver, but I've seen Darnell Washington make some big plays. They didn't utilize him like that. That's the thing. I don't think he's nowhere near his ceiling on what he showed at Georgia. Top tight end coming out of high school when he came out of high school. But at 6'7", running 4.65, and when they did throw him the ball, he caught everything it seemed like they threw to him to me with his hands. Of course, Brock Bowers is going to be the number 1 tight end in next year's draft, may even be a top 10 pick with how dynamic he is out of Georgia. Of course, the pass game at Georgia was more predicated on getting him the ball in the passing game. But if they drafted a tight end in Darnell Washington, that would help. But nice, solid play from the tight end position would really help Dak Prescott. But Dak, you have to stop throwing those damn interceptions. Damn, was throwing them at an alarming rate. Interception. You ever play Madden? Interception. For real, man. Before I move on to some, if there's anything else, NFL, I was watching something this past weekend. And speaking of the NFL Network, at times, they can have some good programming at times. But I think they miss out a lot on some of the things they could be showing at different times of the day as far as oldies but goodies again. I want to see some games from the 70s and 80s, live action. But I was watching something, the 1969 Redskins. I forgot that Vince Lombardi had actually coached the Redskins in this last season after that run with Green Bay, of course. And it talked about just how he had that team going in the right direction and then got stricken with colon cancer and was out of there. Was gone just that quick. 1970, it died. But was sent to Washington to turn the Redskins around and was on the path to doing that, changing the culture and everything, and bam, just like that, was out of there. Just like that, was out of there. A real quick thing. Oh, hey, well, I talked some baseball earlier. Hey, Trace Thompson for the Dodgers had 8 RBIs. 8 RBIs in his first game. Of course, if you didn't know, that's Thompson for the Warriors, my boy Klay Thompson. Mama named me Klay. I'm going to call him Klay. That's Klay Thompson's brother. Had 8 RBIs for the Dodgers. I think it's time for him to take off with the Dodgers. Dodgers have kind of been platooning him the last couple of years, but of course we all know the talent that he has. It's time for him to be an everyday player with the Dodgers, of course. And Jackson Smith and Jigba's brother, who's going to be the first wide receiver taken in the draft, maybe to the Texans, from Ohio State. Kanan Smith and Jigba had a couple hits with the Pirates last night. Played left field for the Pirates. Played in Fenway. I think he had a double, if I'm not mistaken. But those genes, man. Good genes. Good genes right there. So, yeah, we'll see what my Cowboys do. But moving on to some NBA, we always talk about these little guards. But you know who never gets enough love? And I was just watching him in an interview. And you've heard me talk about him, mention him recently when talking about the Rockets. And not going to talk about the Rockets tonight. And, of course, they're finishing out the season. And we'll see if they get that number 1 pick. Whenever Adam Silver decides who he wants to have the number 1 pick, it's going to be Victor Wembanyama. You see that put back, that 7-4 from France, follow away 3-pointer, misses, 2 or 3 steps, gets to the rim, puts it back like it's nothing. But you see his handles out there on the perimeter, going to be special. But I was watching Calvin Murphy. Y'all forget how cold Calvin Murphy was as a player. 5'9". He was talking about, I saw him in an interview, he was talking about how he had one night, averaged like 40 points when he was at Niagara, led the nation in scoring, along with Pete Maravich, who he said was his best friend before he died, but had 6 days one night against Syracuse. This is at Niagara. And they were showing the highlights of Calvin. I said, man, Calvin was a bad boy. It just took me back. I don't remember him at Niagara, but I remember him with the Rockets. Before him and Dale Harris. Dale Harris wouldn't play the guy. Maybe him and Malone would have won a ring together. Dale Harris didn't have some kind of personal vendetta against Calvin Murphy, who was still in his prime at the time. But in that 81 series against the Celtics, you barely want to play the guy. He can light it up like that. Had 6 to 8 points against Syracuse one game. He said he thought that was going to stand for who knows how long. He said his best friend, who he had played with in All-Star games, got to know very well, still the best player in his eyes he's ever seen. He said a couple days later, Pete Maravich had 71 for LSU. Just like that. But you look at Calvin Murphy, man. Woo, I look at some of these little guards now. Calvin was a bad boy. They couldn't do it like Calvin at 5'9", and probably one of the top 2 or 3 best foul shooters of all time. Of all time. But, hey, again, the Lakers are back with LeBron, AD playing like that. The only thing that scares me about the Lakers, is how long is AD going to stay healthy? LeBron is 38 for that matter. How long is he going to stay healthy? We know he's normally been an Iron Man. We know he's coming off the foot injury. Looks to be in great shape. Looks like he's dropped some weight coming back from that injury. That just goes to show you, that's a testament to the professionalism of LeBron James and how he conducts his business even when he's out with an injury. Professional enough to make sure he stays in shape, stays with the right diet. After 20 years, all the basketball that he's played, for him to still have that hunger, that passion, to want to be the greatest to ever do it, but preparing himself the right way, comes back in phenomenal shape. Of course, it's nothing like getting in basketball shape, getting your win right. And he's doing that. And the Lakers, they're a different team than they were early in the season, since the trade deadline. You look at Austin Reeves now, that's some viable punch right there. That's some viable punch with swag. With swag. To go along with AD. When AD is playing like this, top 3, top 5 player in the league, easily. 38, 17, 40, 15. Just dominant. How much longer is it going to be before, and I hope this is not the case. You know, I don't hope for injuries at all. But you almost have to watch with your fingers crossed. And you have to really hone in on your expectation with the Lakers, on your expectations with them, because they seem like a championship contender right now. With the additions they've made, again, with Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, who gives you some at that point guard position, not only as a shooter, an outside threat, but savvy with the basketball, can make plays for others, can put the ball in his hands and say, make a play. If it's not for you, for someone else. It's not just LeBron right now having to handle the ball. But again, Austin Reeves, to go along with a healthy Anthony Davis. Vanderbilt plays tremendous defense. Since the All-Star break, they've been the number 1 defensive team. So, but I want to garner those expectations just a bit until I see them get through a couple of rounds in the playoffs healthy. But if Anthony Davis plays like this and that team can continue to gel, LeBron has a damn good chance of getting his 5th championship ring, folks. A damn good chance. I still think the Milwaukee Bucks are the team to beat. So whoever comes out of the West, we'll see. So of course the Lakers playing tremendous defense now, have more weapons, have more scoring threats, have that swagger about them now. They believe that they're a contender, whereas early on in the season, even when AD and LeBron was healthy, neither one of those guys felt that they were on a championship contending team. Now it seems like that's motivating AD. I think also he's getting motivation from everyone always talking about how he's always injured. And more so than anything, when he's healthy, he's just in his physical prime right now. Let's just call it what it is. He's just in his physical prime. Again, do I have to say it? His prime. Between 28 and 32 in most sports, almost all sports. Between 27, baseball, maybe 25, 26. But really, between 27 and about 32, 33, when the physical meshes with the mental. But now he's healthy. He's making all the right plays, knowing when to attack, knowing when to pull up, mid-range, knowing how to position himself for certain rebounds, knowing his opponents, knowing how to get the right angles, the right positioning. That's why his stats are looking so good right now. Knowing how to get to certain spots on the floor, knocking down shots from different spots on the floor. Post-up game is nice. Can face up. He's just in his prime right now, Anthony Davis. I hope he can stay healthy for the Lakers' sake and really make these playoffs very, very interesting, because the Warriors, Andrew Wiggins is back in the fold. And I know their road record leaves a lot to be desired, a whole lot. to be desired. They've been horrible on the road. But think about it, folks. It's the Golden State Warriors. And I'm glad he's back. That gives them that wing defender, but it also gives them that scoring punch, added scoring punch. Again, Andrew Wiggins was their second best player. Of course, Klay was still trying to get his legs up under him. He was their second best player last year in the finals, a final championship that they won. But he can go for 40 on any given night. Not 20, not 30. You insert another guy who can go for 40 on any given night. So I know it's going to take him a few games to get his win back. He'll be all right. He'll be all right. Running back into shape in the first round. Hopefully, of course, there's a lot of teams jockeying for position. Who knows where they're going to end up? A lot of these teams have 3 and 4 games left, and it's really getting tight. If you look at the Western Conference, it's a jumbled up mess right now. You got Denver at 1. Still need to see them win a title with Jokic, 2-time MVP. We'll see if he wins another one this season, or if they finally give it to Embiid. I don't see them giving Jokic 3 MVPs in a row. I really don't. Giannis is the most dominant player on the planet right now. He's right there too. But I think this might just be Embiid's year just on the optics alone. And, of course, his play has been tremendous, and Philly is right there. But Denver, who's the number 1 seed, but, again, they have to get it done in the playoffs. You have Jamal Murray back. You have Jamal Murray getting his legs back under him. That gives you that scoring punch from 3 range. Playmaker, can get it done. Michael Porter Jr., not only can he shoot the 3, but you play him close on the 3. Now he's getting by guys, being savvy in the paint, doing things around the rim. I like Michael Porter Jr.'s game. I really do. I really do. But they have some depth. Caldwell Pope. They have some guys that can play. But I'm still not all the way sold on Denver until I see them do it in the latter rounds of the playoffs. As great as Giannis is. But that mess over there, and you have Denver, you have Memphis, you have Sacramento, Phoenix. Sacramento, hey, De'Aaron Fox, Houston's very own, Sabonis, Harrison Barnes, steady Harrison Barnes. Of course, we all know he has a ring with Golden State, 2016, where their first championship. But Harrison Barnes, you don't hear too much about him. Just brings it every night, shows up, plays hard, plays his role, does what he has to do. Lets De'Aaron Fox and Herter and Malik Monk, all them do all the scoring, Sabonis. But Sacramento is playing. They are playing right now. So they're gonna be a tough out for anybody. Mike Brown has those guys playing at a high level, just their confidence, and they're going to be playing with house money. So they're going to be out to not only proceed in the playoffs themselves, but they're looking at it like, hey, we're ahead of schedule. De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis are going to be there for years to come, and Malik Monk and Herter, and they're only going to get better. So they're playing with house money. So they're going in there looking to spoil someone's championship hopes. That's one of these teams that's predicted to make the championship out of one of these 2 or 3 teams. Sacramento is going in there like, hey, we can run with anybody. We can play with anybody. It's not going to be a sweep. You better bring your A game. That's Sacramento is saying. Should have had me a grape soda. Well, you know I love me a grape soda. Which they don't sell in most. Wendy's got it going on for selling that grape soda. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's a plug, but what the hell? They don't need it. Love that grape soda. But ever since I was a kid, give me a grape. Give me a grape. Ever since I saw it on What's Happening. Give me a grape soda. That grape is the bomb. But then after that, 5 through 10 in the Western Conference is up for grabs. They're up for grabs. But now, I don't know if these teams are consistently inconsistent or inconsistently consistent, but all these teams are jumbled up right there 8 teams, the Clippers, Golden State, Lakers, New Orleans, Minnesota, OKC, Dallas, Utah. But going back to Golden State real quick. Golden State with Andrew Wiggins. The thing about Golden State, and yeah, you can say, well, they need to get the chemistry. I'm going to tell you what the chemistry is. A championship from last year. Guys like that with Draymond, Steph, and Clay, and you can talk about what they've done on the road. It's a whole different ballgame in the playoffs. Their antennas are perked up now. They're going to be that much more dialed in. They don't care about no damn regular season. They got 4 championships. Stop it. 4. Remember when Clay got into it with your boy from Memphis, Dylan Brooks, and he down there talking that yin yang, and Clay just did this 1, 2, 3, 4. Case closed. Conversation is over right there. They got 4. And not that they're resting on their laurels, but I think once the playoffs start, I think they'll dial it back in. And you have to remember, they used to be one of the best. And, of course, it's a different team to a certain extent. You have to get some of these role players. You have Gary Payton. You have to get him back acclimated in shape. He's going to help on the defensive end. I like when he gives them something, a little scoring punch as well. You're not going to have Iguodala. I think that's going to hurt them more than people think at certain crucial moments in the playoffs. I don't know if he's slated to come back at some point in the playoffs, like if they get deep in the playoffs. But 5-10 minutes a game to steady the ship, flair for the dramatic, knock down a big 3, make a huge pass, get a stop. But they have to get some of these role players. I like DiVincenzo, but Clay, Steph, Wiggins, Draymond, Jordan Poole. You got Wiggins back now. Their chances, hey, I'm going to take them coming out of the West. Again, I love what I'm saying from the Lakers. It's hard to bet against LeBron, a healthy LeBron, and AD playing like that. But a healthy Golden State, right now, as of right now, not saying that can't change once I see the way how things progress, how teams are playing. Last year I picked Golden State to win it all. They won it all. I picked them in the preseason. First one to do it. But hey, that's their chemistry. Last year's championship. It's not going to take that long. They're going to whip that ball around the perimeter, do their thing. Kevon Looney's going to play his role. Now, once they get deep into the playoffs, I'm concerned about their lack of size inside. Kevon Looney, I don't think, can shoulder the load by himself. But if you're sitting there making threes and slashing and dashing and shutting guys down on the perimeter, they're a year older. Legs are a year older, of course. But I think they've paced themselves. Not only, I know that incident with Jordan Poole and Draymond at the beginning of the year, a lot of people think that has something to do with the chemistry. I don't necessarily think so. I think it's more about you've had guys, different guys in and out of the lineup all season. Steph has been out at certain periods of time. Andrew Wiggins, we know, has been out certain periods of time. And again, 4 championships. Even the guys that don't have 4, they won it last year. I think once the playoffs start, you're going to see them lock in. Now, will it be as easy as just locking in? Maybe not, but you're talking about a team with 4. 4. What Clay do? 1, 2, 3, 4. Shit. Come on now. Wiggs knocking down threes, getting to the rack, locking down the opponent's best scoring threat. So they're going to have to deal with Phoenix. Phoenix is still undefeated without KD. And again, I talk about the Lakers. I talk about Golden State. Again, if the Lakers are healthy, they're right there in the mix to win it all. I'm going to go with Golden State right now. The Lakers are looking like a viable threat, as I stated earlier, to win it all. It's always hard to bet against LeBron, a healthy LeBron. But with AD playing like that, of course. But Phoenix, KD, man. Man. They're undefeated. But when you get deep into these playoffs, that depth, KD is going to have to sit down at some point. I know you have Devin Booker, but you have 4 guys that can get it done with Chris Paul, and I'm not crazy about their bench. The backup point guard, what's his name? Not Cameron Johnson. Cameron Payne. He's nice. A bit inconsistent, but he's a viable backup to Chris Paul. TJ Warren, Craig, they're not bad. But would those four be enough? And if you say, okay, well, what about if you say, well, Golden State's depth is not off the chain this season as well. So how do they match up against Golden State? Two high-scoring teams, of course. Teams that can score, they're going to play more of a perimeter game. Of course, you know you can get something inside with DeAndre Ayton. That could be the X factor right there. DeAndre Ayton, if they really utilize him when they play a team like Golden State and they really go at Kevon Looney, get him in foul trouble, and then you have Anthony Lamb. Who else do you have to really anchor that front line if you get Kevon Looney in foul trouble? So in that regard, and you have Kevin Durant being Kevin Durant, Phoenix is definitely, we have Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Booker. In most people's eyes, they're the championship favorite coming out of the West. I'm still going with Golden State. And when I see Phoenix just doing it up, when I see those bench contributors contributing, and when I see all four of those guys clicking at the same time, you know Devin Booker and KD probably going to click at the same time because they're just that dynamic of scorers that can do it from all facets, from all areas of the floor. Chris Paul just has to be the facilitator. But when they load up on KD, it's going to be all book. And we'll see what they bring on the defense side of the ball. Golden State has to get back to playing defense the way we know they can. And that has to start with Draymond and Wiggins, Gary Payton II. But that's more of a mindset. So the playoffs are going to be interesting just to see, really ready to see these teams lock in and really be like, okay, this is it. And really see these teams healthy, playing at their best, having something to play for, all with one common goal in mind, winning the championship, and may the best team win. But we'll see what Phoenix has to offer on the defense side of the ball. And as far as depth is concerned, but KD and Book going to have to go off every game. Golden State, Clay having an off game, Wiggs can go off for 35. Jordan Poole could go off for 30. Clay is going to be that much better this year. So they could just hit you they could just hit you with daggers. Jordan Poole having an off game. Again, you have Wiggs like DiVincenzo had 18 last night. Pelicans, I don't know what's going to go on with Zion, but they've won, 7 out of 10? Brandon Ingram, when Brandon Ingram came out of Duke, I thought he was going to be good, but I've been very impressed with Brandon Ingram. You know what? I used to put Brandon Ingram in the category with the great Sam Perkins, played for many years. You know Perk, always looked like he was high out there, just cool Perk, silky smooth, played for many years. He was who he was more competitive than people thought. He just had a certain style to his game. He was who he was. He was cool Perk out there. Big Sam Perkins. Won that natty with Jordan in 82 when Jordan hit that shot. But you get Zion back, and that's, damn. I've never seen a guy, this dude, I never forget, man. My boy Eddie was in here a couple of years ago, and we were having a debate about Zion, and that was his main part of the argument that pretty much, but can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy? And my argument was, well, when he's healthy, he's a bad boy. But damn, when is he healthy? He missed last season with the foot, and I know he's not trying to get injured. But when he's healthy, he is a monster. Of course, we know he would have started in the All-Star game this past season. They went first place when he went out, the Pelicans. So that's the bigger point I'm getting to about the West. I talked about Sacramento, Phoenix, the Lakers, Golden State, Denver. But man, the Pelicans, Brandon Ingram, I didn't think he was going to be that type of player coming out of Duke. I said he's going to be all right, even though I know he's 6'9". But I've been thoroughly impressed with his work ethic, his love and passion for the game. They say and just from day one, it was noted that he's always working on his game. So this perception from the outside looking in that I had of him was totally false. But Brandon Ingram has elevated his game to another level. Over the last week or so, what is he averaging? 30-something a game? 7 rebounds, 7 assists? And not only is he a scorer, he's very competitive, can score from different places on the floor, can get to his spots, can get to the rack, can knock down free throws, long, can defend. I mean, I like the Pelicans. If Zion is back, I like them competing at a high level with C.J. McCollum, Valanciunas at center. We know how dominant Zion is, but Brandon Ingram has been very, very, very impressive. Just the way his game has evolved, the way he gets better each year, his competitive nature, his competitive spirit, his passion. I listened to him in an interview the other day after a game, saying all the right things about how they're just coming together right now. But you could see the passion. I had this misconception of him, like he was just a guy, like, he's going to go out there, he's just cool or whatever. No. This guy's hunger is off the charts, man. And remember, when they went first place, when Zion went out, I don't think Brandon Ingram was back then. So, of course, they would have to build chemistry. But just having that talent on the floor, if Zion could get back. But he needs to get his young tail. When he's playing, he's in shape. He's just been injury prone. It take you damn near a year to come back from a damn hamstring injury. And I know those are hard to come back from, a la Jackson Smith and Jigba. Talked about him missing the bowl game. I've subsided my thoughts on that because I'm hearing that he didn't think he was healthy when I thought he could have came and helped Ohio State. So now he's healthy, going to be the first wide receiver taken in the NFL draft. But Zion, come on, man. Damn. Get in shape. Don't know who the Clippers are. Russ went for 36 last week. He went for 36 the other day in a win against the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, of course, are going to be there with Ja. Talked about all those teams. The Grizzlies are right there, number 2 or number 3. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting coming out of the Western Conference. But who knows who the Clippers are? But if you get that Russell Westbrook, that game Kawhi missed, Russ went for 36, was efficient, doing his other things on the floor. That's why I said the Clippers are better off with Russell Westbrook, first ballot Hall of Famer. If he plays smart, and I know if was a fifth, we'll all be fucked up. But having a first ballot Hall of Famer starting at point guard, I don't think it's such a bad thing unless he's taking ill-advised shots, which he's been prone to do. We'll see what happens this year with the Clippers. But that's why Tyronn Lue, that's why they pay him the big bucks. Since he's supposed to be the best coach in the league by many people's accounts, rein his ass in. Tell him to go to the basket. You got to get the best out of Russ, man, at this point. He's going for a chip now. He ought to be in his best place mentally. But who are the Clippers? Now you have Paul George hurt. He has to come back from an injury. But I just haven't seen the Clippers, as much talent as they have, a lot of people's pick to win it all. I just haven't seen them playing enough with one another. Healthy. Seeing them gel. We know they have the talent. Hell, you have Eric Gordon over there now to go along with Westbrook of the Rockets. His acquisition goes understated. Eric Gordon can knock. That's somebody that can give you 20 to 25, just like that. Can knock down shots. Veteran presence. So, yeah, we'll see. But Minnesota's going to be a team to be reckoned with. Karl-Anthony Towns coming back. They have to find out. They have to find how they're going to incorporate him. You don't find out how you incorporate him. You incorporate him. You can't just let Anthony Edwards, as great as he is, superstar he is, tremendous talent, former number 1 pick himself. Now that you have Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Anthony Edwards, of course, 5 through 10, we don't know how they're going to be seated at the end of the day. We'll see how it ends up. But as far as the teams themselves, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, that's what you wanted for a playoff push. Now you have it. Insert Karl Anthony Towns into the offense, post him up down low, get him some touches down on the post, let him shoot his threes. He has to demand that as well, but they have to get him going now. They have to get him going, but they're going to be viable. OKC, Dallas, they're not going to make it this year. We'll see what happens with Luka and Kyrie moving forward. Kyrie will probably be somewhere else next season, but the defense is awful. And to get Kyrie, they gave up. I mean, again, you already don't have Jalen Brunson, who's balling with the Knicks. What did he put up, 47 last week? In a victory. But the defense for the Mavs, man, bad. We knew Kyrie was going to go over there and score, but that's why I told y'all when they got him, they're not going to be any better. And then what you gave up to get him, especially on the defensive end, and that's no knock against Kyrie. He's been playing lights out this season. But again, to me, he just doesn't make his teammates better. He's not going to go out there and be noted as a defensive stopper. You can say, well, that's not what they brought him over there for. Well, damn. That was my point. We knew he was going to go over there and score 25 to 30 a game. Luka has to be better as far as his leadership. He signed off on that trade. But he's probably feeling like, damn, I mean, yeah, I have another scorer with me, but I don't have a team. He has to fix his body language and be more of a leader on the court. He kind of gets in this mode where, man, I'm playing with this I'm playing with this person, you know. And he has to lead more by example, showing that he has his teammates' backs. And he's not pouting and doing all this and that if they miss a shot or they don't pass him the ball when he think he should have the ball. He needs to work on that. But I knew that wasn't going to work to a championship level extent, more so than anything. But so Utah is somewhere in the mix. And, of course, in the Eastern Conference, of course, the Celtics, the Celtics, Bucks. The Bucks are my team out of the East. As great as the Celtics are. I know the Celtics beat them by 41 the other day, last week. That was their 5th game. And you can say, oh, well, no, I'll take something from that. Okay, well, go ahead. I don't. I mean, they beat them. Yeah, that's a wide margin. That was the Bucks' 5th game in 7 days. You see what the Bucks did to the Sixers last night? Night before last. I mean, shoot, whenever that was. 5 games in 7 nights. Well, they beat them by 41. And the Bucks, in my opinion, are still the team. Remember 1985, the Memorial Day Massacre? Boston Celtics beat the dog shit out of the Lakers in game 1. Beat them by 34. The Memorial Day Massacre. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Lakers won that series in 5. Maybe 6. That's that game when Magic hit that shot to win that buzzer beater at the end of the game. I'll never forget, I was running summer track at the time, and they had the little portable TVs in the stands, and that game was on. And I was getting ready to go and run. Y'all didn't know I ran track too, huh? Former district high hurdle champion. The humble brag right there. But I've never mentioned that. But yeah, but I you remember that game? Lakers won that series in 5. So yeah, Boston and Boston can be as great as Boston is now. Boston can be somewhat of a Jekyll and Hyde, as great as Jason Tatum is. As great as he is. Been ascending every year. Second best team in the Eastern Conference. Could be top 2 team in the Eastern Conference. So we know how great of a player him and Jaylen Brown are. We know what they can do when Robert Williams is healthy on the interior, as far as his presence blocking shots. But sometimes they can be Jekyll and Hyde And you can't let that happen. And I think Milwaukee's going to bring it every game in the playoffs. Now, can a team have a bad game? Of course. But Giannis is going to keep bringing it. Jason Tatum, as great as he is, you look up some games and superstar. Superstar now. You look up some games, you be like, where the hell is Jason Tatum? You're not going to have to worry about that with Giannis. He's not going to go in these lulls where he has a game where you look up in the fourth quarter or going into the fourth quarter and he has 7 points. If he does, you can best believe he has 15 rebounds and 12 assists. You know. But as great as Boston is with their firepower, shoot a lot of jump shots, they better be falling. Because when you go to the basket, you got Brook Lopez. And even though Boston may be they have more foot speed. I've said this before than Milwaukee. But Milwaukee with that depth, with Chris Middleton, with so many ways that they can beat you inside and out. Brook Lopez playing at a high level, protecting the rim, might be Defensive Player of the Year. Then you have to deal with Bobby Portis. Rob Williams, yeah, you have Rob Williams. But these guys have a few players. They can throw at Rob Williams. And Horford, who's going to be camped out in the paint most of the time. He's ground bound. As much as I like Al Horford, as great as he is for that team in the role that he plays, can stretch the floor, savvy, leader, can give you defense, toughness. I like that. Boston is tough. I think Milwaukee is just more rugged. Jrue Holiday went for 51 last week. So again, even if you're quicker than them on the perimeter and you get by Jrue Holiday or you get by Grayson Allen, you're going to get tugged on. They're going to close up those driving lanes. You got 7-foot Giannis stepping in there. 7-foot Bobby Portis. 7-foot Brook Lopez. Grayson Allen hounding you all game. That's going to be an evenly matched series. Miami and Jimmy Butler, I don't know. They have Jimmy Butler. He's a great player, but I just don't trust Miami in the playoffs with Bam, and I just don't trust Miami deep in the playoffs. Jimmy is going to get his against these teams, against Milwaukee or Boston. Philly, they're going to be right there. They're going to be right there. Those are the three teams, the Bucks, the Celtics, and Philly. A healthy Embiid. Harden is back now. Again, let's see the in-game adjustments or lack thereof from the very good coach, Doc Rivers. Love the guy. But let's see the in-game adjustments. So those three teams right there are going to be something to deal with in the Eastern Conference. But Milwaukee, they could just, again, they go 10-11 deep just like Boston. I just think they're more rugged. I think they're more consistent. I think they're the variety of styles that they can play. If the three-pointer's not falling, Giannis is going to keep attacking, get into the rim, putting the onus on the officials to call fouls. In a 7-game series, especially if they get home court, I pick the Bucks. But Tatum can't have one of those games because what if Jaylen Brown is off that game too? Usually one of those guys are on, if not both. That's the beauty of that dynamic right there. But all this 8 points going into the fourth, and then you explode, that may not work against some of these elite teams. You better come out the gates humming like a Kobe or a Jordan or Larry, Legend, or Magic, whoever. You better come out of the gates letting the world know that, hey, I'm a superstar and this is my time of year. Period. As soon as the ball tips off. Because I can guarantee you Giannis is going to keep bringing it. But you have to deal with teams like the Cavs. So hey. You have these before I get out of here. Let me read the NBA schedule for the night. Let me get out of here in a sec here. Roof. The sports court. That popcorn ain't gone, is it? Should have went back for seconds. Better. Parquet. Better. Man. Let me see. NBA schedule. Who we have tonight? Who do we have tonight? Cavaliers right now beating the Magic, 197. 7 minutes, 44 seconds left in the fourth. The Cavs are a young team. I don't think they can make some noise in the playoffs, win around with Donovan Mitchell and that young talent, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, Darius Garland. They have some talent. I mean, if you're playing in the NBA these days, all these teams, even these bottom dwellers, have talent. Talent that's ascending, if anything. But 103.99. Give you a couple of stats right quick before I get out of here. Jared Allen has 10 and 5. Donovan Mitchell, 34 and 3. Fourth quarter, 6 minutes left, 6:46. Darius Garland, 16. For the Magic, Wendell Carter Jr., who's a nice player. I like Wendell Carter Jr., the center. Is he from North Carolina? I think he is, but he's pretty steady. He's a nice player for them, something to build with. Of course, Banchero, the number one pick out of Duke, 18 and 9 so far in this game. As they trail with 6 minutes left, now 105.99. Markelle Fultz, glad to see him resurrect his career. Remember his first couple of years in Philly, after being the number one pick, of course, a knee injury derailed him, but at one point couldn't hit free throws. His mechanics, his shot was messed up. Man, I admire the way he worked and got back to form. Now he's playing some very good basketball. 21 and 7 right now. Francis Wagner, 15. I like him as a player too. Him and his brother can play. Gary Harris has 3. Why is Cole Anthony? Now I know you want that punch off the bench, but every time I look up, and not that Gary Harris is a bad player, he has his games, but Cole Anthony seems like the guy that should be in the starting lineup to me. He has 15 right now. Gary Harris has 3 in 24 minutes. They both get their minutes, and maybe you just want that punch off the bench. But it seems to me, Jalen Suggs, former top 2 or 3 pick, he has 6 points in 18 minutes. So, hey, so that's that right there for that game. Heat and the Pistons tied up at 87 right now. Let's see. Adebayo, 14. Vincent, 22 for the Heat. Struz, Tyler Hero. I like Tyler Hero. Jimmy Butler has 9. Kyle Lowry. That's one of those elbows right there. As soon as that elbow bend, the mouth open. Man, that dude there. Like Kyle Lowry, tremendous player. If he could ever stay in shape, stay on the court. Kevin Love has 7. Raptors and the Hornets. Raptors up 104-86. Okay. All right. So who else is on the docket for tonight? The Bucks with 10:01 left in the fourth. The aforementioned Bucks up 118-104. Let me get a few stats right here. I'm about to get out of here, hit the freeway. The sports court, baby. Yeah. Brook Lopez, 18. No rebounds? What? Huh? Now that's kind of like him, even though he's not noted as a devastating rebounder. But Giannis, 25, 11, and 9. That's a run-of-the-mill night. 8 minutes and 48 seconds left in the fourth. Up 118-104 over the Wizards. 25, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. Just another triple-double on the horizon. Jrue Holiday, 12. Crowder. Look at that. Crowder, small forward. Houndie on defense now. 19 and 8. He's rounding into shape. Connaughton. Damn, zeros across the board in 6 minutes. Bobby Portis, 19 points, 17 rebounds, 4 assists. See what I'm talking about? See what I'm talking about? Yeah, so that's that right there. Nets and the Timberwolves. Nets over the Timberwolves, 68-66. In the third, Kings up over the Pelicans, 65-54. Celtics losing to the 76ers right now, 53-46 at halftime. All right? So that's your games right there for the night in the NBA. Of course, going to continue to check out that MLB, see if the Astros can get back in the victory column tonight. Either way it goes, they're going to win another ring this season. This season. All right? Roof, the sports court. And always remember, legends live and let live. Deuces.